Almost, almost kept it muted while I went on my little tirade. Welcome, 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 one and all, to yet another episode of Wick TV. It's a cross-ideological space where we come together to talk about issues, political and cultural, from the silly to the serious. My friends, my enemies, my acquaintances, okay? My viewers. We got a lot to talk about today. A lot to cover. A lot dropped over this weekend. And some information, some new stuff I just threw into the mix, dropped hours ago from the Wall Street Journal and the House of Representatives. A letter given to the Wall Street Journal between Donald Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. So we're going to look at that. We're going to cover all the cope around it as well. But our main thrust today, the main topic of discussion, is going to be on crime. Specifically, a brutal murder that took place recently on a light rail in, I think, Charlotte. A Ukrainian woman, was murdered, attacked, unprovoked, and killed by a black man with like 14 prior arrests, something crazy like that. The video, this happened like a month ago, but the video just got released a couple days ago, a week ago, something like that. And we got to talk about it. We got to talk about everyone's response to it and how everyone's fucking up, left, right, and center. And how we deal with these things and how we cover these things. Kay, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. Marco Weinhofer. Is that how you say your name? Also welcome. Weinhofer says, hot take, crime is bad. True. Crime is bad. High five if you agree. KO Dave, nice to see you. Hello. Welcome to Twitch. Welcome to the show. Gonna give you guys a minute to get in here. Give you guys a minute to shake off your weekend and settle in for the start of the week. Some interesting topics, some interesting discussions to be had. And today, we are having a call-in show. So, if at any point during my rantings and my ravings, you, dear viewer, wish to call in, you very much can. And this is how you do it. You're going to click on the Discord links I give you. I'm giving that in the Twitch chat and in the YouTube chat just now. I should pin this. Hold on, in the YouTube chat. Give me a second. And you're going to click that link. You're going to accept the rules by clicking on my little face emoji. Okay? You know what? Zero Fucks gave me a video on this. I should show it to you guys. But I'd have to, it's buried somewhere and I'd have to find it. But remind me, and next time I do this, I'll just play the video and it kind of gives you the instructions and it kind of goes through. Because you're going to click the link, you're going to accept the rules by clicking on my little face emoji, okay, under the rules page, and then you're going to see the whole server. And at the top of the server is a voice room called Backstage. You're going to jump back in there, and when you're ready, we're going to pull you in. Let's see what everyone else is saying. Kinetic Pause, nice to see you. Welcome to the show. TC says, don't fall for white supremacy narratives on crime. Well, we're going to talk about that. Narratives are important here. But I think that you are making a mistake when you say that this is just a white supremacist narrative. I think that you are playing into their hands. I think that, well, we're going to talk about it and talk about why, but stay tuned. But yeah, I think you're making a very big mistake in kind of framing it like that. Steel Priest says, after 4 years of being on Graveyard Shift, this is the first time I'd be able to catch a live. Well, I hope it doesn't disappoint. First World Scapegoat says, literally, can you name every X meme? X being murder in this case. True. Is it battle time? I don't know about battle time. I don't know if we're going to fight, but we're going to talk. And talking sometimes can lead to fighting, I suppose. So, have you guys heard of this, by the way? Have you heard of what happened here? So, about a month ago, little less. There was a murder on a light rail, okay, in Charlotte. A black man was sitting behind a Ukrainian woman, a refugee, fled to the U.S. from the war, right? And I'm not going to show the footage. We're not going to do snuff here, okay? But the black man took out a pocket knife, bam, 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 3 times in the neck, screamed, "I got that white girl. I got that white girl." And she died, unfortunately. Brutal murder. Disgusting. Unprovoked. Disgusting. This guy needs to go to jail for the rest of his life, at the least, okay? At the least. But there's been some talk about it that I think needs to be addressed. Let me ask you guys this question. Let me start with this. Do you think Democrats are too soft on crime? What do you think? Are Democrats too soft on crime? That's a narrative that's being tried, that a lot are trying to push. And I think a lot of the more leftists are feeding into that narrative by how they're responding to this. The right, obviously, look, let's just be clear up front. The right doesn't actually care about any of this. They're trying to push well, some of them are trying to push a racial narrative about this, right? That's absolutely happening. Some of them are trying to push, well, look at the Democrats are too soft on crime and just releasing all the bad guys into the streets, blah, blah, blah. We're going to discuss it. But the leftist response hasn't been better. It hasn't been better. Let's read the article on this on CNN first, okay? We're going to go through. We're going to get the facts of the matter as reported by CNN, and then we're going to look at some of the responses, okay? And if you have thoughts and if you have opinions, I'd love to read them, and I'd love to go through them with you. So let me know, and we will talk, okay? Esoteric Dichotomy says, I think we are way too soft on crime. I hate the race angle. It's just crime in general. I hate it. Yeah. Torrente says, don't you dare say, Wick, that the right doesn't care. You don't. The right does not care about crime. They only care when it's a black person or it's a minority or it's an illegal immigrant. Otherwise, they don't give a shit. They don't. They won't push it. There was a man, a white man, actually, who gunned down 3 black people earlier this year. Went to their house, bam, 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 bam. Never heard of it. No one pushed it. None of you fucks cared. None of you gave a shit. Don't talk to me about the Republicans care about crime. They don't. Let's be real. Okay? Now, if you're arguing the left is downplaying this crime, I would agree with you. Okay? Axios article on it. Terrible. Terrible. Okay? The left absolutely does downplay crime to some extent. Absolutely. You're right. We need to fix that. But come on. Come on. Don't you play this game with me, Torrente. Don't you give me any shit. You have never once called out any kind of white on minority crime. Not once. The security cameras are the problem, LOL? What? No. Brew Crow says selective outrage is a problem on both sides. It's shameful and performative. Yes. Yes. People on all sides are trying to, and this isn't new. And we see this every time there's some kind of mass shooting or incident in the news. Everyone's waiting like it's Christmas morning to find out if the shooter was, what race they were, what gender they were, whether they were trans, what a political affiliation they had, and they're going to try to shoehorn it into their political narratives and use it as a weapon, as a club, against their political enemies. And it is gross, and it is shameful. And we are going to talk about that too. Again, today's topic, crime, messaging, and narratives. We're going to go through it all. We're going to go through it all. TC says, I do. I always hope that it's not a black person. I'm not going to lie. That's weird, though, TC. You understand that? That is weird. That is a weird thing to, like, it's just, I don't know. I find it distasteful. Okay, let's go through the article. Here, let me make it bigger for y'all. Is there a way to move it over on the screen? Here we go. Okay, can you guys read that? Oh, it covers up me. It covers up me? Oh, no. Can I make it not cover up me? Hold on. Hold on. I don't know if I can. Hold on. Okay, whatever, gang. We're just gonna go with it. Does this still work? Yeah. I don't know why it's covering it. Whatever. Okay. Can I move it over? Now I'm gone. Now I'm just gone. Do you guys need to see my face right now? Do you guys need to see my face? Oh, there I am. Yeah, what is going on here? Why is this? What is happening? Oh, no. Pro streamer moment, gang. Pro streamer moment here. Where is this? It says it's there. Okay, I believe you. Can we put this up? Aha! I did it. I'm very proud of me. Okay, we did it together, gang. We got it done. It's a little, let's just go through the article. Gruesome video shows a 23-year-old Ukrainian refugee getting stabbed to death on a Charlotte light rail train. A case that has turned into a flashpoint as the Trump administration vows to crack down on crime in large, predominantly Democratic cities. The unprovoked attack happened shortly before 10 p.m. on August 22nd. The Charlotte Police Department said. Okay, I'm not going to try to pronounce that name. The caller said a woman was stabbed in the throat. The victim, Irina Zaruska, fled Ukraine in 2022 with her mother, sister, and brother to escape the war with Russia. And she quickly embraced her new life in the United States, her obituary states. Zarutska attended Rowan Cabarrus Community College, worked at Zepedee's Pizzeria, was a talented artist, and had dreams of becoming a veterinary assistant. And this is our victim here. Okay. Video of the attack shows Zarutska entering a train car and taking a seat directly in front of the suspect, court documents state. The train travels for approximately 4.5 minutes before the suspect pulls a knife from his pocket, unfolds the knife, pauses, then stands up and strikes at the victim 3 times, a police detective wrote in an affidavit. Blood visibly drips on the floor as the defendant walks away from the victim. The victim goes unresponsive shortly after the attack. The defendant is the assailant on the video. There appears to be no interaction between the victim and the defendant, the affidavit says. We're not going to watch the video, but here's a still photo, okay? The suspect, 34-year-old DeCarlos Brown, was taken to a hospital for treatment of a laceration and charged with first-degree murder. A judge has ordered Brown to be evaluated for 60 days in a local hospital. CNN is trying to reach his attorney for comment. Brown has a lengthy criminal history, including convictions for armed robbery, felony larceny, and breaking and entering. He spent more than 5 years behind bars for robbery with a dangerous weapon, state records show. Michelle Dewitt, Brown's mother, said her son struggled with mental health in the past and had been hospitalized. Dewitt told CNN her son had been homeless and living at a local shelter. Early in the morning, on the Sunday before the Charlotte stabbing, Brown showed up at Dewitt's home, telling her he had just been released from the hospital and asked to stay the night, Dewitt told CNN. Later that morning, Brown's mother dropped him off at a Statesville Avenue shelter, gave him a hug, and told him, "I love you," then went to church, she said. When she found out about his arrest, Dewitt didn't think it was him. I said, "This was surely a mistake. That doesn't seem like his character. He wouldn't do anything like that. That's just not who he is as an individual," she said. "He likes to have fun, make jokes, not hurt anyone." Dewitt told CNN Brown called her after his arrest, but did not say anything about the stabbing. He just said hello and that he loved me. There's the perp, gang. Earlier this year, Brown was charged with misuse of 911 after he allegedly asked officers to investigate a man-made material that controlled when he ate, walked, and talked, court documents state. Officers told Brown the issue was a medical issue and there was nothing more they could do. Brown became upset and called 911, the records state. President Donald Trump, who has recently escalated the presence of federal troops in urban areas as a crime deterrent, denounced the slaying and called the killer a madman, a lunatic. "It's right on the tape. Not really watchable because it's so horrible," Trump said of the surveillance footage. "She's just sitting there." The president offered his condolences to the victim's family and vowed to get to the end of violent crime. "When you have horrible killings, you have to take horrible actions," he said. That's I don't know about that one. We're gonna talk about this specifically more. I hadn't seen that quote before. My first time reading it, but I think it's important when we talk about narratives and things like that later. But let's pause here, I think, before we get to the debate over sharing the footage. Obviously, this man should have not been on the streets. Far beyond this incident, when this incident occurred, he should not have been on the streets. He should not have been using public transit. He should have been either in prison or a mental hospital. One of the great tragedies of our time is that we have done away, instead of reforming mental institutions, we got rid of them. And that's been a mistake. That's been a mistake. It's hurt us as a society. I understand in the past, these mental institutions were run horribly and abused their patients. I get that. But that does not mean that they did not serve a purpose and that they couldn't be made to be better than they were, to be more humane than they were. But the fact that this man, this monster, was on the street still after having such a rap sheet, after having the mental issues that that it's being reported that he had, we have to admit this was a failure of our justice system. Can we at least do that? No matter what side of the issue you're on, Democrat, Republican, leftist, rightist, whatever, can we acknowledge that in this case, the justice system and the mental health system in America failed? Can we start there before we go any further? Ecto Spengler agrees. True. Nine Ong agrees. Level 4 Lobster agrees. I think it's a pretty ice cold take here. Did he serve his time? Apparently 5 years for the armed robbery. I'm not sure the details on that. I don't know if 5 years was too much, not enough, whatever. But he had multiple incidences of him breaking the law. Okay. What was it? Hold on, let me go back to the article. They mentioned some of his other crimes. Let me see. Armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering. Yeah, these, at least out of the 14, those are pretty serious crimes. We're not talking parking tickets here. We're not talking like he was jaywalking. So did he serve his time? Maybe, but at a certain point, look, can we talk about the 3 strikes rule or the 3 strikes law? Maybe that wasn't such a bad idea. And I know, I'm going to get shit on for this. But maybe that wasn't such a bad idea, at least for violent offenses. Okay? At least for violent offenses. Kate asks, was he out on bond? I didn't see that in the article, but it's possible. I'm not sure. Yeah, if we limit it to violent offenses. Like, I don't think one of your strikes should be like a parking ticket. Yeah, that's obviously silly. But yeah, if you have 3 violent offenses, it's time to go. Okay? You've demonstrated that there should be like a minimum sentence for that. 10 years. I don't know, something like that. A lot. Esoteric Dichotomy says, but I've been told that if someone is on strike 2, they become super dangerous, knowing they are off to jail on the next one. I haven't seen anything about that. Solemn Argus says 3 strikes for violent crime should be you are locked away for life, no chance at parole, nor appeals or shortened sentences. Rosh says, me on my way to shit on Wick, not even Warhammer stuff in his collection. What do you mean there's no Warhammer stuff? There's Warhammer stuff right here. What do you mean? I don't know what you're talking about. You guys just make shit up. All the time. Crazy. Yeah, I think that the 3 strikes law, at least in concept, was a good idea. Now, you can argue it was poorly implemented, maybe, right? And that there were edge cases that were unjust, fair. But I think, in general, it's a good idea. Crime, especially in public places, erodes social cohesion and social trust. One of the best things about, one of the best things we can have is public transit. I am a big believer in public transit, but that requires us, if we want people to be on board with public transit, we need enforcement of the law, especially on public transit. I'm talking officers on these trains, okay? Like, you know how you have what do they call them? When you're on a plane, there's a word for it. I'm thinking, I'm drawing a blank. Do you know what I'm talking about? The guy on the plane who's a cop, but it's secret. An air marshal. Yes, thank you. An air marshal. We need something like that for these public transits. Maybe not on every single one, but on enough. We need to invest more into our safety infrastructure here. Nair Stock says, just use the National Guard. Trump agrees with you. There's a reason I don't like the National Guard being used to police citizens of the United States. That's a very bad idea. ICE is also a very bad idea. But a local police force absolutely is a good idea. Kinetic Pause says, New York City has transit cops, but it's a huge system. They need more, frankly. They need more. A bus marshal? I don't know what you want to call it, but something. Sneed McFeed says, if you lock up the right people, you won't need them. No, you still need them because people need to be feel safe on transit. What do you talk about, Torrente? Motherfucked Wick, you lying sack of shit. That incident happened in 2023, and Ron DeSantis visited the vigil of the incident and was booed. Go fuck yourself. Which incident? Rosh says we should have a Wick force to assist the law. We need more cops. We need maybe not more cops, but we need better placed cops. We need cops on these trains and on these buses, obviously. Obviously. Nair Stock says, how do you stop these new cops from beating minorities at a higher rate? One problem at a time, ladies and gentlemen. One problem at a time. Frankly, I don't live in a city with metro. I don't live in a city with metro. I don't live in a city at all, frankly. Oh, did my camera freeze? Can you guys still hear me? Hello? Uh-oh. You can hear me, but I'm frozen. Okay, let's try on and off. Oh no. Why is it... Look, why is it frozen? Gang. Rip Wick's camera. This... Hold on. What? Oh no. Oh no, Discord's being weird. It's a Discord problem, gang. No, you didn't call me out correctly, Torrente. You're full of shit. Oh, are we back? Are we back? We're back, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah, you didn't even know about Torrente. You had to look it up. You didn't say shit about it at the time. It didn't fit your narrative. It didn't make national news. It was never really reported on outside of local area. Hold on. I'll get you the... Hold on. We'll bring it up right now. I'll show you. Let me get the article up. Hold on. Excuse me. Visited by DeSantis. Sure, but again, can you link me a Republican, a Matt Walsh? Can you link me a Tim Pool? Can you link me any one of these influencers who are making a big deal about the Ukrainian woman who was killed? Can you link me anything that they said about this? I will eat crow if you can. So you can't, Sneed McPhee, is what you're saying. Dodging? Why am I dodging? I'm saying that the reason none of you knew about it, and it didn't really make national news at the time, is because most murders don't make national news. There's 23,000, excuse me, 23,000 people on average are murdered in the United States each year, ish, give or take, okay? You're not going to hear about a vast majority of them because it's just doesn't make national news. There are occasions when it does. But most murders you'll never hear about. White on white, black on white, black on black, white on white. It doesn't matter. There's a few who catch interest for a variety of reasons. Whether it's super scandalous, if there's some kind of sex stuff involved, if a white woman gets killed, frankly, it becomes news. If there's some sort of extra salacious or juicy details, if it happens to pick up steam for some kind of social justice cause, there's all sorts of reasons, okay? All sorts of reasons that a murder can make national news. But most murders don't make national news. Solemn Argus, I'm covering it right now. What are you talking about? We just read a CNN article on it right now. What do you mean the people on the left aren't going to cover this? Icarus says it usually only makes a national news when it fits a narrative. Yep. Nathaniel says, I don't know why this murder is particularly catching fire. There have been plenty of crimes where the killer had a bunch of priors. I think it's because we have the video. I think this one particular is because we have the video and it's super, super graphic, unfortunately. I think it's because people, you could just watch it. I'm not going to show it on stream, obviously. But it's pretty sick. It's pretty disgusting. Sneed McFeed says, no, the victim was a refugee from Ukraine. That's why. I don't know if that's it. But, maybe. Solemn Argus says, I'm being slightly hyperbolic, of course, but I'm sure you get the point. Look, Solemn Argus, let's break bread here, because I will agree with you that a lot of the left is covering this poorly. And I'm going to give you some examples. I got some examples up. We got the Axios framing of this. I think that's one of the most egregious framings I've seen. And we have, from friend of the stream, Socked on Left, made, I think, a ridiculous statement about this that we're going to read. So let's do that, actually, before you guys distract me more, because you guys are good at distracting me, okay? You guys are very good at distracting me from these things. Here we have friend of stream, Socked on Left, responding to a comment on the murder. And this is what he has to say. He says, cars kill 40,000 people a year. Homicides kill 20,000 people a year, 90% among people who know each other, not strangers on the bus. In New York City's worst year, it had 10 subway murders in 1 billion rider days. The average is 3. New York City has 200 fatal car crashes per year. When you have a brutal murder on video that everyone can see, that is unprovoked, grotesque, just over the top in so many ways, and your response is, well, it was statistically insignificant, you're fucking up. You're fucking up, okay? Frankly, that's not the messaging. That's not the way to deal with this. You're even if all those numbers are correct, okay? It's beside the point. It's beside the point. Okay? That's not the only thing Socked on Left has said on this. It says it's telling that hard on crime types are never hard on the prime causes of crime. Young men mentally unwell or unemployed without prospects. Do they support universal health care, therapists in schools, free college, free training, wage subsidies, a youth job guarantee? No. Again, instead of talking about the problem, right, and the incident, you're using it as a vehicle to kind of beat on people who don't accept all your policy proposals. Look, the right's guilty too of crazy framing, and we'll get to that. Don't worry. We'll get to that. But I'm just showing you how not to respond to this, gang. If you actually care about a crime, and we should, don't respond to it like these guys are. And here's one of my favorites, okay? So this is from an abundance person. It says, as an abundance bro, there's no abundance without law and order. We simply have to arrest and prosecute. As for the crazies, we need to have some difficult conversations about bringing, and he goes on, and here, let me see if I can get it up, about bringing mental institutions of the size and magnitude that we had in the 20th century. I mean, he's just correct here. And here's Connor Mulhern calling him Hitler. Abundance people, the moment that the topic comes to anything other than housing, because they want law and order to arrest people and prosecute them and bring back mental health institutions for the mentally unwell, they get called Hitler by 5K likes for this. Crazy. That's insane, boys and girls. That's an insane response to this story. It's an insane response to people saying, hey, we need a better way of dealing with crime like this. We need a better solution for dealing with people who are committing violent crime in our public institutions and our public transports. Okay? To say, oh, that just makes you Hitler? What are we doing? That's a liberal loss, Wick? What are you talking about? So criminalize mental health issues? Bring back mental institutions for people who obviously are having mental issues that they cannot take care of themselves. It is no kindness to let these people roam the streets. You are not doing them a favor. You are not being kind to them. You are not making the world safer or better. If it can be demonstrated that you are unable to care for yourself and unable to function in a society above a certain threshold, then yes, the kind thing to do is to give you a facility without abuse, without any of that, that can help you until you, A, get better, right? Get the proper treatment. Or, it's just, unfortunately, we got to protect society. Yeah, treat the mental health. But some of these treatments require extended stays in a facility that will make you take your medication. I have an uncle, okay, and I've talked about this on stream before. I have an uncle who suffers from, we're not sure what it is, but I think I'm convinced it's schizophrenia. He is unable to function in normal society, really. He lives in the woods, and we've tried to get him help over and over again. He's been arrested over and over again. We've tried to put him in these institutions over and over again, but they can't keep him there for the time he would need to get better. And he'll be fine for a while as long as he's taking his medication. But the problem is, he begins to feel good, and he thinks, I don't need my medication anymore, and he stops taking it, and he becomes very unwell. It is no kindness that he's I've tried to let him stay at my house, but he refuses. He'll leave. He needs to have a place he can't leave, that he has to stay. $5 from Schwango says, I agree about bringing back mental institutions, but it will be impossible to eliminate abuse. How much abuse would be viewed as acceptable? As little as possible, obviously. I think that the abuse in the mental health systems in the 60s, 50s, etc. was abhorrent. But the correct solution wasn't elimination. It was reform. And I think we can see that. Has he ever been in my chat? Not to my knowledge. Again, a lot of the time he spends wandering the streets, living in the woods. He has a tent. And again, tried to keep him in our house, tried to keep him in other people. Like, my parents have tried to let him stay in the guest room they have and things like that. And he will for a little while, and then he'll just wander. We can't force him, unfortunately. But he needs a place that will. He needs a place that will force him to be on his medication. And it's sad, and it sucks. But I would rather that than him be off his meds and hurt someone. Thank God he hasn't, to my knowledge. But I would much rather he be forced to live in an institution than he one day snaps, thinks that the person in front of him is a demon, which he's talked about before, okay, and hurt someone. It's not a kindness, okay, to let these people roam the streets. He's been arrested several times. He's committed several crimes. I don't think any of them violent, but yeah, he just theft. I know he's done that. Put a number on it, like 1 to 100, 1 to 1,000. I don't know, man. Kay says, I had an uncle who had paranoid schizophrenia. His entire life, he refused meaningful treatment. It was impossible to force him into treatment. He died in December. He didn't know peace. It's sad. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I don't know, Schwengo. I don't know the answer to your question. As close to zero as we can get it. 1 in 1,000, I guess. I just don't know. I don't know what I'd have to think about it more. Hold on. Let me check a couple things. People sent me message requests. If you're just calling me randomly, I'm not going to let you call in, okay? You have not passed the test, okay? This is a call-in show, though, so if you do want to call in, here's how you do it, okay? We have the link pinned at the top of the chat, okay, on YouTube. Well, he's just dialing my voice, like calling me directly on the Discord over and over again. And I'm just, okay, no, we're not going to do that. But yeah, click on the link if you want. Accept the rules and jump in. Mercado Media and his wonderful viewers have just joined us on YouTube. Welcome to the show. We're going over right now the brutal murder of the Ukrainian woman on the train and possible responses to it and how we should handle that and the various narratives that are going around about that. We're going to be talking soon about the Trump letter in 2003 to Jeffrey Epstein that's been released and the responses to that, but we aren't there yet. KTC says, so the liberal take to mental health issues is a loss of rights? Under certain conditions, yes. If you commit violent crime, you should lose some of your rights, particularly the right to free movement. You should be restricted from movement. You should go to jail. If you're committing violent crimes, you should go to jail. I don't know if this is a hot take. I don't know why you guys are giving me grief about this take. If you kill people or hurt people, you should not be allowed in society anymore. Schwango wants to be pulled in. Give me a second. Why did I enter a pro-Russia channel? Why are we... Hold on. Why are we pro-Russia? How do you call in? You click that link above. Okay. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Like, pro-Russia channel? I don't know what you're talking about. What have I said that's pro-Russia? I'm not gonna get one, guy. Nope, not gonna do it. Okay, let's look at before I bring in callers. But let's look at some of the Republican responses to this. We looked at some of the Democrats' responses and things. Let's look at some of the Republicans. Beautiful. Okay. Here is... Oh, man. I don't know if I want you... This is so gross. So here's one of the things that I see them saying, okay? And I want to talk about this a minute because I think it shows kind of a lot of what's being pushed on the right wing and how they're trying to weaponize this against their political enemies. And I think it's gross, and we're going to talk about it. So this guy, Brandon Herrera, says this. Why is this only being talked about on social media? Why don't mainstream news talk about this like they did Daniel Penny? And I want to address this. And Tectone, of all people, says because the media has been pushing white people bad for so long, they don't know what to do in these situations. None of this is true, okay? The media isn't suppressing this story. We just read a story about it in CNN. Like, we literally just read a story in the mainstream news media about this situation, okay? I haven't looked at MSNBC or anything, but I'm sure we can find something. But this idea that the mainstream media is suppressing the story is a load of bunk. We're covering it. But here's the thing. Most murders don't get covered. We've been over that. 23,000 murders in the United States a year. You'll hear about maybe 20 or 30. Very, very small percentage. And I also want to talk about the dichotomy here that's being pushed. Why is this only being talked about on social media? Why won't mainstream news talk about this like they did with Daniel Penny? Well, if you think about it for 5 seconds, it's pretty clear. Daniel Penny, there was a competing narrative going on. It was a controversy because some people thought what Daniel Penny did was heroic. Some people thought he was a murderer or committed manslaughter. There's a lot of talk about it, right? And it was a disagreement. It became a clash point. And obviously that generates news. And people want to talk about it and argue about it and discuss it ad nauseum. No one is defending this dude. There's no controversy here. Not really. This monster, frankly, who killed this poor woman, no one's rooting for him. No one's saying, well, you know, he had a point. No, it was clearly unprovoked. It was clearly, he clearly needs to go to jail. I don't know. There's something to talk about here, mind you, right? There's stuff to discuss, as we're doing today. But let's not pretend we don't know the reason why these two stories are being covered. And let's not pretend it has anything to do with the race of the individuals involved. It just doesn't. It's just clearly different situations. Sorry, it makes me angry. Okay? It makes me upset. Frostback asking questions says there is no claim of suppression. Yes, there is. Here, let's read another one. And I like this guy. I like Sitch. Okay? I know a lot of you don't. But I like Sitch. I consider Sitch a smart guy. I think he's right more than he's wrong on issues. But on this, he gets it very wrong. And here's his claim. He says, I want the mainstream news media in the U.S. to function properly and be a trustworthy and unbiased source of information. They cannot achieve this by continuing to behave in this fashion. You are not being honest with yourself if you claim it is merely just random chance that this story was not being reported on by the MSM and not an ideological choice. This feels like a claim of suppression to me. If I'm misreading it, he can correct the record. I'll talk to him about it and we'll figure it out, right? But this reads like a claim that the MSM, the mainstream media, has purposely chose not to cover this story, aka they're suppressing it. I just don't think that's the case. And I think I've laid out a clear argument why it is not the case. If he has more evidence to present me, I would gladly hear it. Frostback asking questions says maybe in the others, but not I said in the first post. Well, here's the thing. Like these posts aren't in isolation. They're responding to each other. They're networking with each other. They're building up a narrative. Okay? The narrative that they are building up and they are trying to push is that the mainstream media is ignoring this because of the victim's race. Or the perpetrator's race, I should say. And I just don't find that to be credible or true. Wildman said, would the MSM similarly not cover this story if the races were swapped, though? Again, most stories don't get covered. Most murders don't get covered. Zero Fox says, a couple days ago, when the video dropped, it was a true claim early on. It may have been covered since. Even Dev agreed that it was largely unreported on as recent as yesterday. Look, I didn't catch it the day it dropped. Okay, I don't know. Psychonaut says they're not covering this because people die every day. Remy Lobo says, Wick, you're in denial about the race aspect. They did ignore it. I don't think they did. Adam Round says, Slava Ukraine. Hell yeah, brother. Okay, I think that is the issue then. Nathaniel says, unless we see the story talked about by mainstream news TV programs and hosts, they won't count it unless it's, I don't know. Zero Fuck says the day it dropped, it was mainly just covered online with nearly no outlets reporting on it. Maybe. But that's not the same as a suppression or a cover-up or them choosing not to cover it because of the race. You're stretching to say that. It's going to be covered now, though. And again, I'm not here claiming that a lot of the coverage is done correctly. Axios, let's look at it. Axios is covering it, and I think a bizarre way, a way that I don't find appropriate. Let's read. This is from the Axios Twitter account. Verified, right? It says, the gruesome video of the fatal knife attack on Irina Zarutska on a light rail car in Charlotte is drawing attention from MAGA influencers seeking to elevate the issue of violent urban crime and accuse mainstream media of undercovering shocking cases. That's not the proper angle to go with this, at least not at first. You can do this later if you want. But when you have a story drop like this, the first thing you do should not be, well, look at MAGA overreacting to this violent assault on this poor woman. This is not an appropriate way to cover this story at this point in time. So again, if your argument to me is that some of the leftist organizations have covered this poorly, I would agree with you. But let's not pretend that the right isn't going out of their way to push a narrative that I do not find to be true. Here, let me find one more tweet from you guys for you guys, and then we'll take some calls, okay? One more tweet that I want to bring up on this subject. There's a couple of Epstein. We're going to get to the Epstein stuff in a second. Don't worry. Why isn't it? Okay, there it is. Did I not bookmark it? Oh, no. Oh, no, here it is. Okay, here it is. I found it. So this is the stuff they're pushing, the bullshit they're pushing. From Lord Bebo here. It says the Ukrainian girl that was killed on the subway, and they have a circle over her having a Black Lives Matter poster. That's disgusting. Not that she has a poster, but to point that out when she's been brutally murdered, and I'm not even going to look at the Republican, I'm not sorry, the replies here. But the implication seems to be that she somehow deserved it, or how ironic it was, or any of this. And I find that gross, disgusting, inappropriate, horrific, untrue. I don't know what other pejoratives to use here. But it's absolutely out of my... I'm out of my mind that that's the angle you want to go with for covering this fucking story. And you want to make it into some kind of race thing. Look, this guy should have been behind bars. The justice system failed. He should have been in a mental institution or behind bars way before this happened. But yeah, that is gross. Salt of the Red Earth says this is going to make me upset. It should. You should be... Hold on. You should be upset at this. You should be upset. This should make you angry. You should be passionately against this. Too often we get exhaustion. We get fatigue, right? We get, oh man, it's just another... Oh man, it just happened again. And I get it. It's hard. It's hard to care about this stuff every time it happens, but we need to, because it's important. We need to fix these things. We need to fix these problems, and we can't fix them unless we care about them. First and foremost, we have to identify the problem. What is actually happening? We have to decide what ways to tackle it. And there's a lot of different angles to this, okay? There's a lot of different things at play. But yeah, it's a real problem, and we really gotta deal with it. Let's bring in some callers here. Hello. Oh, hello. You're live. Hello. You're live. You gotta unmute yourself, buddy. You're muted on your end.
Sorry about that. I always get people to do that, and I did it.
You're fine, buddy. What do you got for us? What's your here? Where are you at?
All right. So, unfortunately, it's totally predictable. This is being made a race thing. Mm-hmm. The easiest example I can give, and I know I don't know what you think about this, but well, a lot of this stems from, I can't remember if this was last year or the year before, but there was a guy that got in his SUV and he mowed down like 20 or 30 people. And it was in the news, but they just said the driver. And they did not say it was a black guy that did it. Now, he I don't know if it was drug withdrawal, mental illness, whatever it was that caused him to do this, or if it was, I don't think it was I hate white people, so I'm going to go run them over. I don't think it was something that overt. Or that would have been brought up, because it wasn't. So, like, it's just this example. Whereas before, you hear about some shooter and it's just like, oh, typical, he's a white guy. This is where all of this energy is coming from, right? Because They use data to twist it into a way, you know this, they use the data to twist it into a way that just supports whatever viewpoint they have. The vast majority of gun violence in this country is done by minorities through street crime, through gangs, right?
Yeah.
So people say, oh, see, so is it the white man that's the problem? The problem is the majority of mass shooters are white.
Also
so
true.
It's okay, but people just use this to ginny up. I mean, listen, I agree with you about Sitch. Like honestly, he kind of bums me out lately. I used to look at Sitch as a chance to stop just being a Trump cuck, much like the way Adam is. I view I view him the same way. He's a very, very reasonable, very smart person. But I think audience capture is real, and I think that, yeah. But this is why you use Sitch as an example, because it did bum me out too to see Sitch write something like that. But that's why. That's the easiest example I can think to, because it's not the news; it's the pundits. The pundits on the news go on and talk about, oh, well, I noticed nobody said he's black, whereas they always point out if it's a white shooter. Like, but this is where that energy comes from.
I think I agree with your general thrust here. There's a couple things that I would point out. I do think that people make a mistake when they try to point out the race of a shooter, or try to hide the race of a shooter, or care about the race of the shooter, or the race of the person doing it, or the race of the victim for that matter. I think that that's a mistake. I think that it just feeds in to these ideas, and it's not necessary. It's not necessary. It's unnecessary. We don't have to. We don't have to feed into any of this. We can just simply say, person A did this and person B did that, and we don't have to be like, a black Hispanic immigrant from Nicaragua came in today, and we don't have to play that game. Or we don't have to be like, a white suburban mom who raised 3 children at school did X, Y, or Z, right? We don't, unless the person is like actively on the run and we need to catch them, then yeah, just call them what they are, right? Like, black guys on the run, get them. Or white guys on the run, get them. Doesn't matter, right? But if they're already caught, I don't know if it's relevant. I don't know if it's relevant at all. And look, there are one of the other mistakes that we have made on the left is downplaying violence against white people. That has happened, but, and I want to be very clear, that is no excuse to make everything a race thing when it's clearly not.
I know, but this is the world's famous give them an inch, they take a mile. This is one of the most frustrating things I run into is when trying to, for lack of a better term, de-radicalize people, is if you make one concession like that you tell them, listen, it's not right that, white people get assaulted. It's just like, but then what they hear and run with is, oh, so you're saying it's okay that black people get assaulted? It's like,
it's stupid.
I'm telling you, I know it's stupid, but it's the environment we're in. It's the environment that's been cultivated, and I don't have the first clue how to get people out of it. And like it stumps me. It baffles me. How do you even, like, it's grievance porn. That's all people want. That's all people want, is they just want.
There is a market, no, I agree with you. I think that a lot of people think of disinformation as the problem. I would disagree with that. I think, well, after a certain point, I think disinformation is the symptom of the problem. Because as you said, people want their grievance porn. People want they want someone to tell them that they are right, that everything they think about the world is true, that all the biases they have are actually correct. And so they seek out information purposefully that confirms their biases. I'm not talking to everyone. I'm talking in general, okay? There are absolutely exceptions. I know we're all super smart here. We all think we're above it. I have issues with that too, but we'll get into that later. But everyone thinks they're right, and everyone wants information that confirms that they are right. So there is a market for grievance porn, for misinformation. for
Where would you say
spin.
then it comes from? Where would you say the symptom comes from? Because to me, I don't view this as a symptom. I view this as gasoline, as a fuel.
It's both, frankly. Like there's a feedback loop, right? The more your biases are confirmed by the things you seek out, the more you seek out to confirm your biases, and it just feeds.
Right.
Feeds into each other, and it just creates a
I
problem.
view it more like it's like a nuclear reactor gone off the rails. Like there's nothing to cool it down. I mean, no different than how
Yeah, I
I
don't
mean,
know.
what
Like, if you're asking me for a solution, if you're asking me for a
No, no, I'm asking
solution,
you for a source. I have no idea
oh, a
for a solution.
source.
Yeah, because you said it's not the source.
There
It's
are
a
bad
symptom.
actors. I'll tell you, there are bad actors. A lot of them foreign, from a certain country, Russia. I'm going to be real with you, who are feeding into this and creating chaos. They have bot farms. They push narratives. They look to see what's going to be most divisive, and they just push it. They put their thumb on it, and they
Why is it
dig.
why is it landing with people? That's what I'm getting at. Like, most people can see that a lot of this is just silly. It's just nonsense. But why is it that most can't?
Um, you know what?
That's the real humdinger to me. Is this is why this is my view with modern.
Hello? Did you cut out? Uh-oh, gang. I think we lost him. Well, talk to you later, buddy. Okay. Sorry about that, gang. I don't know what happened. $5 from Gelatinous Rube to say we didn't set those animals loose on normal people after calling them bigots for 2 generations. The problem is Russian bots. Do you not think that Russian bots are a problem? Like, we know this is happening. We know they're doing it. Do you think that they're doing it because it has no effect? Do you think that they're engaging in this because it doesn't work? That they're spending God knows how much of their effort, time, and money on this because it just there has no effect? Look, there are other countries who do it too, Sneed McFeed. Qatar, Pakistani. Oh, I'm sure a lot of different countries. Russia is just really good at it. The only TV you can trust is Wick TV. Don't trust me. Verify, okay? Don't trust everything I say. Look it up yourself as well. Please. Israel does it too. Yeah. Again, information warfare, for lack of a better term, propaganda, all this, we do it too. Right? America does it as well. It's very effective. Very effective. Okay? So again, I'd ask you, if it is not, why is Russia spending so much time doing it if it doesn't work? Are they just making a mistake? I don't know. Just saying. Gelatinous Rube says, Wick, which Russian agency sponsors the crackheads who will accost you outside Philly airport? Again, I've been to Philly airport. I've not been accosted by crackheads at Philly airports. I have been accosted by homeless people before in various parts of the country. Again, I am not saying that this isn't a problem. I am saying that the problem is exacerbated. Well, let me look at you. Let me ask you this, okay? Do you think that the media here, I'm going to speak your language a little bit for a moment, Rube, okay? Just for a minute. Do you think that the media exacerbated the amount of police on minority crime? That they made it a much bigger deal than it actually was, and it caused a lot of minorities to fear the police in a way that they should not have. That they had way more fear of it than they should. Do you believe that to be true, Gelatinous Root? So you think that Black Lives Matter, that all the Trevor Martin Project, all these people were accurately depicting police brutality against minorities in America? Is that your take? I agree with you, but I didn't know that that was your take. Cervantes 176, that you were saying is caused by Russia. I think that it is exacerbated by Russia. They are exploiting a weakness. The weakness may or may not have been caused by Russia. It may or not be already there, but they are using a weakness that exists and making it a mountain when it could have been a lot smaller, right? I'm saying that everyone does this to some extent with their problems that they think are exist in the world. But it's especially concerning to me when a foreign enemy of the United States does it to us. And then a lot of people in the United States fall for that shit. They just yum, 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 yum up that propaganda. Again, everyone does it. But the difference here is intensity, effectiveness, and who is doing it. William of Orange on Twitch. Look, I love you guys on Twitch too. What are you trying to ask me, Twitch? There's a Wolfman backstage? Okay, let's bring him in. Hello, you're live. Oh, Lycan. Okay, hey, what's up, buddy?
Hey, let me turn push to talk off. 1 second.
Yeah, take your time.
Sorry, it's in raid mode. How you doing, bud?
You know, we're here. We were going over the brutal killing that happened on the light rail. And then we were talking about Russian propaganda just now. And now we're here.
Yeah. I'm curious why you're going down the Russian propaganda route on this.
Well, because I would say that there's a coordinated effort to push different narratives in the United States, especially around race relations, okay? And I think that, in part, Russia is exacerbating that, and other countries too. Anyone who wants to destabilize America are helping to push these narratives. Hello? Can you hear me? Oh, did I go silent? What's happening?
I don't know. I keep going out and in.
Am I still here?
Yeah, you're here. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Where did I cut out?
You said there is a coordinated effort.
Yes, there's a coordinated effort amongst a lot of different groups, but I think Russia's included, to destabilize the United States by pushing these narratives. And when it comes to this particular incident, as brutal as it was, there are people pushing the narrative that this is a race issue, right? Would you disagree with that?
No, but I would be very clear in that everything that has happened, especially since these bot farms got underway, they had their big test run in 2016 to see how effective they could be. This is going to happen with every issue until, I don't know, something figures out how to make it not a problem. But until then, this is always going to be an issue, right? Every time there's a chance for them to boot up the system and stir shit up, on both sides, they're going to do it. So
I don't disagree.
That is going to happen. But I don't think that the issues related to race in our nation are worth kind of pointing to that. It would need to be very specific circumstances where I'm like, okay, this is really getting it out of hand more so than it is. We see a rising racial tension in this country, and the source of that is sitting in the White House right now. The support for what Trump has been doing.
I would argue that Russia helped get him in, though, right?
Sure, Russia helped get him in, but the sentiment's coming from inside the house now. Like, this isn't Russia. The anger that's the racial hatred I'm seeing in my replies today on Twitter, that's not coming from, there might be some Russian bots in there, but I'm pretty sure that a lot of those people are folks that are Americans. Oh my God.
Yeah, I don't know why this Discord. It's Discord. It was doing it earlier with my camera. God damn it!
Do you have a rogue mod? Is there someone?
No,
in your
it's Discord. Like earlier in my stream, my camera froze for like 10 minutes, and I didn't know what to do. People could still hear me. My internet was still on, right? But
Dude, the Russian bots, man, they're after us now.
they're targeting this server because they know I'm their greatest enemy. But I hear what you're saying. I don't disagree with what you're saying, but I think it's a mistake to ignore the foreign influences that are pouring into this that Trump is enabling, right? Or ignoring. Like they dropped the case against Tenet Media. The Trump administration fired the prosecutor, not fired, but let them go, right? And just basically in the Department of Justice cleaned house, and they dropped the case against the Tenet Media. I don't know if you heard about that.
No, I didn't. But I mean, Trump is at this point. I don't know, man. Every time I hear something new, read a new headline or an article or a fucking video, there's nothing that surprises me anymore with this guy. Trump's bent. He has made it clear he is in bed with Russia, a nice piss-filled bed, and Putin is his daddy. But with these issues, like the bigger thing for me is, and maybe it's because I am so cognizant of the impact of the foreign interference in social media, that to me it's like it's a sidebar to everything else. Like at the end of the day, I'm going to be more concerned with the fact that there are Americans amenable to this. The fact that Trump did what he's done since his inauguration in January towards immigrants, illegal immigrants, American citizens, even getting caught up in this. And any Democrat had been involved in any of those things, one American citizen gets deported. One naturalized American citizen gets deported inadvertently. The Republicans would have had Obama's head, right? So when there are these Russian bots and other foreign adversaries that are going to try to stoke up the tensions because they've seen it works, and they're going to keep doing it. But for me, at the end of the day, I really just care more about the fact of talking about the Americans that are, making this a race issue. Probably the way that Fox News is talking about it right now is way more concerning to me than the fact that Russians are going to tweet about it.
Fair. I mean, that's a fair difference of opinion here. I mean, I think both are concerning and both need to be addressed. So fair. You take one angle, I'll take the other. How's that?
Well, you remember the panel about what was it? The stuff going on in LA.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, for me, I think there can be multiple things worthy of talking about, but I think that in some circumstances, one's going to be worth it more so than the other. And I think in this case, the racism in the United States from the U.S. citizens, the fact that continues to become a greater and greater issue, we're going backwards in a lot of ways, to me is way more important than, it doesn't mean we lose sight of it, doesn't mean we forget it, and we'll remember it the next time Tenet 2.0 comes up, right? But until then, I want to talk about the dipshits in America that are fucking like the useful idiots that say, when crime stats are going down, and they see, what that Axios article says about, about how this footage is like giving people a false sense of danger, and thinking that's saying, don't believe your eyes, don't believe your ears. And it's like, no, shut the fuck up, dude. What it's saying is that the article is saying is that by these videos coming out more and more, you have more people thinking things are getting worse, and that's because they're seeing it in a way. It's the true crime effect. People are not meant to hear and see all this shit, and it fucks with their brains.
I do, however, disagree that the Axios article was appropriate at this time. I think that's fine to talk about, but I think one of the mistakes that the Axios article makes, and a few other lefties I've seen responding to this have made, is to try to downplay the fact that it's happening, and to say, well, it's statistically unlikely that she would have gotten killed like this. Most people aren't. I think that misses the point of what people are concerned about right now. I think that it's perfectly okay, fine, and even good to acknowledge that the justice system failed in this case. This guy should not have been on the streets. He had multiple arrests. He had multiple priors. He had mental health conditions that were reported to the police, right? And that he
had a judge-ordered mental health assessment that was never executed.
Yeah, there's 1,000 ways that this society failed. Our justice system failed society, and I don't think it's a mistake to focus on that and look at ways to improve and fix that. I think that's a conversation that we can have. I agree with you that a lot of the people on the right are weaponizing this incident to try to paint a narrative that there's all of our cities are on fire, right? But I don't know if now's the time to really push back on that.
So I think that when we see this issue, like,
Sure.
I was talking on Twitter today, a trillion trips are taken a year on the New York subway system. There have been, in 2023, of those 1 trillion, there were 2,000.
there was a billion, by the way.
111. No, it was 3.4 million a day travel on the New York subway system.
Really?
So that times 365.
That's still
I'm
not
sorry.
a trillion.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. No, you're right. You're right. A billion. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. But the math hard.
No,
but
it's okay.
doesn't change
It's
my
a
argument
large
much at
number,
all.
big.
A billion,
Lot of zeros.
trillion, only 2,111 violent crimes, and that's everything from murder to assault. 2,111 out of 1 billion trips.
But the proper response, like I'll give you an example. If a guy came up to me and says, "I was just attacked on the subway," my response to him should never be, "Well, wow, that was a statistically rare event." I guess.
Yeah, of course. To the person who was assaulted, they don't care about the
right after
statistic.
the assault, right? Or right after the assault to the public.
Well, no, because what's happening right after this assault is people are now making it a racial issue. So I think immediately when that is happening and a not insignificant portion of the country is starting to go down that line, or when they're fomenting that criminality, because remember, Trump's here to he's putting troops in our cities saying crime needs to be handled. So I think immediately is the time to say, hey, this is bullshit. Don't listen to that. Use that. When they try to use this and they try to say that crime is bad, we need to put troops in your cities. I think immediately is the time to say that is not true. And because you're seeing more videos of it, you're more inclined to believe them. I think it is perfectly, which by the way, their first article about this was, I think, on September 3rd. So this came out on the 9th. I think 6 days after is enough of a moratorium to start saying, hey, don't believe the bullshit, guys.
So I didn't see their September 3rd article. If
it might not have met your standards either. I think the title was Mecklenburg's DA acknowledges criminal justice system gaps following light rail killing, which seems like an appropriate article to say, how did this happen?
Yeah,
well, this is how it happened.
I don't. I'd have to look at the article to see what I think about it, right? Like I can't just go by.
No, but my point is just that I think that 6 days after, when people are running with this, and we have a rogue, president who's using every instance like this to get his base riled up, I think immediately is the time to tell the public, as a journalistic outlet, don't believe their lies.
I don't know. I just don't think. I think it's a tactical mistake. I get that we can push back and should push back against this being used to put National Guard in the streets to do police work, which they absolutely should not be doing. That is absolutely inappropriate. That is absolutely not okay. But we can't just pretend it doesn't happen. Even if it's a very low number, the fact that it's a number at all is a problem, and we need to get that number down. And I think that, again, acknowledging the failures of the system should be number one priority of anyone talking about this, and looking at ways to fix those problems that aren't authoritarian in nature, because there are plenty of ways we can do it without putting National Guard on the streets, right? I just think that saying, well, it's statistically rare, it's not really happening to the extent that they say that it's happening, I don't know if that's a message. It's a tactical disagreement we have, I guess.
When a naturalized citizen commits a violent crime, and now the reporting is once again an immigrant is doing X, how many days do I have to wait before I can say statistically these communities commit way less crime? Please don't allow Trump's propaganda to spread. Because I'm saying the exact same thing here with this.
I think that the focus should be, because one of the reasons that people allow Trump to do what he does is because they don't think the Democrats are going to take it seriously or handle it. That's one of the reasons he got elected. And so by saying things like, well, it's statistically rare, etc., these mostly doesn't happen, it plays into that narrative.
Sure. So let the city council come out, or let the mayor come out, let the governor come out, and they can talk to the papers, and they can say, this is what we're doing. And I guarantee you, if I go to the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, I'll see some sort of comments like those. I don't expect every single media outlet to be in lockstep and publish the exact same number of articles over the exact same number of days until a certain point when it's okay to talk about the very relevant, I won't even say tertiary, these are directly relevant to the moment kind of things. And the media cycle goes really fast as well. Like, it's not like, you know, the early 2000s when you and I were kids and younger adults that, like, you know, these things could sit in the news cycle for days and days and days before you get to those points where you could kind of publish the same shit over and over again with little tidbits. It just moves too fast. So, like, we're going to get to the quote unquote, I don't want to say appropriate time because I still think immediately is appropriate, but 6 days later in the media landscape's a long time to wait before you start talking about other stuff related to it.
Well, I think the next story is going to be the Trump Epstein letter that we were about to cover in a second here. I think that dropped today, and I think that's going to suck the oxygen out of a lot of rooms. And we'll compete.
Happens all the time.
Rooms. Yeah, but it's just,
I'll let you get to it, bud.
Yeah, thanks for calling in, though. I appreciate the pushback. We still disagree, but fair enough. Okay.
Yep. Some people are just more right when they disagree. You know what I mean?
True. True. Some are more right. Okay. I'll talk to you later,
right, bye.
Yeah. I don't know, gang. I think Lycan's making a mistake here, but we already hashed that out. Okay. We went over it. Is there any other comments on this particular story? Any other thoughts? Anyone else want to chime in? Anyone else have a something we haven't covered about this story that we perhaps should? Anything like that? Different angle? If not, we're gonna move on. Better Methodist says one comment, you suck. But now you guys can't say that the left never covered it. Because I'm the left. Now you have to say I covered it. I hope I covered it well. I tried to. Oh, $5 from Gelatinous Rube. Thank you for the money. To say, turning this racial killing into a race thing is disgusting, but using it to complain about Russia is totally cool. Again, bots are a problem. Russian bots are a problem. I'm not going to pretend it's not. What are you doing? Why is someone messaging me on Steam? Okay, sorry. Not going to get distracted anymore. Let's go to the next story of the day. Let's talk about the Wall Street Journal. And let's go back. I'm going to take you back in time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to take you on a trip to a more innocent time, okay? In the summer 2025. It was mid-July, okay? Wall Street Journal published a story about a letter, an alleged letter, okay? An alleged letter that, birthday card, if you will, that Trump sent to Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. They didn't publish the letter. They didn't publish the birthday card, of course, because they're the lying news media. And we have a vice president who is quick to call this out. Okay, July 17th, 2025, J.D. Vance, Mr. Vice President, says this. He says, "Forgive my language, but this story is complete and utter bullshit. The Wall Street Journal should be ashamed for publishing it. Where is this letter? Would you be shocked to learn that they never showed it to us before publishing it? Does anyone honestly believe this sound like Donald Trump?" Well, let's answer his question. We found the letter, and it was released to the public today. Let's go over that letter, shall we? Okay. Voiceover. "There must be more to life than having everything, Donald. Yes, there is, but I won't tell you what it is, Jeffrey. Nor will I, since I also know what it is, Donald. We have certain things in common, Jeffrey." Yes, we do, come to think of it, Donald. "Enigmas never age. Have you noticed that, Jeffrey? As a matter of fact, it was clear to me the last time I saw you, Donald. And a pal is a wonderful thing. Happy birthday, and may every day be another wonderful secret. Donald J. Trump." Here's his nice little signature there. Okay. So, J.D. Vance, Mr. Vice President, we found the letter. Here you go. Comes with a drawing. A little a little prepubescent drawing here. That doesn't look like a woman to me. It looks like a young, very, very young girl. I don't know, gang. What do you think it could mean? What kind of interpretation do you make of this letter that was released? Now, there's a lot of people who are coping. The White House press secretary and a few others have put out statements that this right here is not Donald Trump's signature. Now, the the Wall Street Journal has, of course, provided a handy-dandy side-by-side, okay, of other letters from around that time frame, from 2000 to, this is to the Honorable Hillary Rodham Clinton signature, okay? You can see that here. There's a letter to George Conway from 2006. You can see the signature here. Then you can see the signature here on the letter to Epstein. Okay. I'm going to leave it as an exercise for the viewer to figure out whether or not these are the same signature. I don't think I need to point out the obvious. Maybe I do. What are you thinking? Think this is the same signature? Is it forged? I don't know. What evidence would you have that it's a forgery? Aside from you don't want to believe it. I don't know. This doesn't look good. This does not look good for Mr. Trump. For President Trump. What could he mean by these letters? Now again, Donald Trump Jr., okay, his son, made a comment that, the letter couldn't be real. A lot of people on the right said that this was just made up, that they made up the letter. The letter didn't exist. It was all fake. But now we have the letter. Now we can see it. Now we can read it. Now we can look at it. We can look at the birthday card. We can look at the drawing, which I didn't know there was a drawing. Okay. We can look at the signature. And this was, again, released by the House. Okay. The House committee. And again, you can decide, dear viewer, you can decide what to make of this. I don't know. It's not making me believe he wasn't messing with those children with Epstein. Like, it doesn't assuage my fears and doubts. Okay? Definitely doesn't put any of them to rest. Ketamine Kyle says, is this serious? Yeah. Are you thinking I'm joking? It's a real letter. Grunge Sang says, my proof equals because it doesn't look like AutoPen. What? He didn't have it. Well, I don't think he had an AutoPen in 2000. Trump denied that he drew anything? Of course he's going to deny. He denied the letter existed. Trump denied that the letter was even real. But that is his signature. I think it was very clear that's his signature. Let's look at it again. Okay? Let's look at it again. That looks like his signature, and you can see it when compared. That's his signature. It's clear. Now you can argue, well, they put it there, they faked it. But what evidence do you have other than you don't want to believe that this is true, that they faked it? Yes, it's from the Wall Street Journal. The Wall Street Journal got a hold of the birthday book, okay? He had a birthday book or something. And in the book was this little poem. I'm not sure what, like this message, this poem. I don't even know what to call it. This comparison was released by the Wall Street Journal. Okay, so again, it looks like the signature to me. I admit, I am not a signature expert. But the Wall Street Journal has released evidence that is pretty compelling, okay, that this is his signature. They claim that this was in that birthday book of Epstein's, and this was written and drew by Donald J. Trump. So unless there's another Donald J. Trump out there with the same signature, I don't know what to tell you. Nair says, can you get tomfoolery on to confirm the signature? Tomfoolery is banned on Twitch, so I can't have tomfoolery on my show while I'm streaming to Twitch, unfortunately. Not possible. I don't know if this is like gonna be what's gonna convince people, but it's pretty damning to me. And I admit, it feeds my biases. It feeds my priors. Okay? But oh shit, it's looking like they had a close relationship. And that's a weird thing to draw, and those are weird things to say. Does anyone disagree here? I don't know if he's guilty of everything. But the fact that Donald Trump said that this did not exist, that J.D. Vance implied that it did not exist, that this was bullshit, made up, fabricated, from that alone, I think we can tell, not that it's any surprise, that this administration lies. That this administration will lie to you. Will just literally make shit up. Deny, deny, deny. But we have evidence that they directly, to your face, dear viewer, lied. Cryptic Gaius? Cryptic Gias, okay? Wick TV, do you really think this would change people's opinion of him if he did send this letter? I don't know, honestly. I hope it would. But I don't know. Maybe I'm naive, okay? Maybe I'm just a naive little guy. But I would like to think that this is going to really push people's opinions, and at least they'll have to admit, okay, Trump obviously lied about this. But I don't know. Let's look at a post by Jesse Singal. You guys know who that guy is? Okay. A lot of lefties hate him. It says this. It says, generally thought this was some random meme account from Macedonia, but it's literally the White House Deputy Chief of Staff. This is an absolutely bizarre cult. The only way to stay in and to stay in good standing is to debase yourself a little more every single day. Seems nightmarish. And again, the White House Deputy Chief of Staff is trying to claim that this signature is not Donald Trump's. And to do that, they're giving you signatures from 2020, 2024, around that time period. 20 years after this was supposedly written. Obviously, people's signatures can change over 20 years. We have, and again, I'll direct your attention to 3 years before, 3 years after, we have these signatures. There's no doubt of these signatures. These are a match. to my layman's eye. Okay? So when you have the White House Deputy Chief of Staff basically lying in a very obvious fashion that this is not his signature. Again, they're not saying that it was forged. They're not saying it was fake. They're faked. They're not even saying that this letter isn't real. What they're saying is it's not his signature, that their signatures are not the same. That's the line they're going with. And it's not just him. I've seen this all over from Charlie Kirk, from that whole talking point memo right. The talking point memo right, okay? They're lockstep in this, that's not his real signature. That is obviously not true. We can see it with our own goddamn eyes, okay? I don't know what to tell you. It is a cult. This is a loyalty thing, okay? Let me tell you why they're lying so blatantly about this. Because it signals loyalty to the tribe, to the group. They're saying, I'm willing to debase myself, to throw away my dignity, to be labeled publicly as a liar for the group, to protect the group. I am willing to sacrifice my honor, my honesty, my integrity in order to protect the group. That's why they're doing it. It's a signal. It's a signal to their people. And again, Trump has made this a big point of his administration. Have you guys seen the cabinet meetings where they compete to proverbially suck Trump's dick verbally about how he's the greatest, the best there ever was? Man, I wish I had some clips for you to show you. I should have prepared for that, huh? But there's clips of people just saying stuff like Trump is the best Nobel Peace candidate that ever existed since they founded the Nobel Peace Prize. Just obvious crazy shit. Look, if you want to argue that this letter here is a nothing burger, that's something you can argue. But when your argument is this signature isn't Donald Trump's signature, when we have plenty of evidence that it is, what are you doing? What are you doing? Let's have some goddamn honesty, some goddamn respect, okay? Some goddamn dignity. That's all I want. Look, politicians lie. We all know they lie to some extent. But Trump does it to a degree that is astounding. That is a problem. Zero Fuck says, just bring up clips about Kim Jong-il and we can pretend it's Trump. I think Kim Jong-il would be embarrassed if his cabinet started saying some of the things that these people were saying about Trump in these cabinet meetings. Okay? It's just so over the top. I don't understand. No, I do. Look, I'm pretending. I do understand. I get it. We're living in a time of grievance politics where people do not care how you act as long as you're hurting the enemy. And the enemy is the other side. In this case, the libs. A lot of people who support Trump do not care that he lies. They do not care that he's destroying the economy. They do not care about any of this. All they care about is that he hurts their enemies. They don't mind if they suffer as long as the libs suffer more. That's just the reality. They do not care as long as he does damage to the Democrats, who they view as worse. That's why they cheer, Okay? They cheer when Trump creates his little ICE secret police force. Okay? They know that it's going to make the libs super mad. The tariffs make libs super mad, even though it's destroying the economy. Okay? Manufacturing jobs are in the toilet. It just doesn't matter as long as the libs get owned. They want to destroy the left because they see the left as having hurt them. So they'll rip up the Constitution to get at the left. Whatever they need to do, it does not matter. Frost Harsh Language says, this is a separatist behavior from a political group, 101, despite the U.S. not wanting to face it because of the fear of the old shadow of civil war. I don't know if we're doing civil war shit. Okay, I don't think we're there. Schwangos for $5 says Trump wanted to create his own Truman Show. The Apprentice was only the pilot. Cervantes says, well, good thing they only quote unquote see it that way. Look, I'm not here to argue that the left has been perfect. I'm not here to argue that the left hasn't done bad things. My argument, my advocacy for you, what I am saying is that there is only one party right now who is protecting the goddamn Constitution, and that's the Democrats. It's not all of them, but it's the only party that it has even a chance of being protected. The only party who's even trying, who's even pretending, is the Democrats right now. So if you want the Constitution to be more than just shreds on the floor, Democrats are the only game in town. They're the only ones trying to protect liberal values, liberal institutional order. They are. Trump, MAGA, they don't give a shit. And they say as much. We don't care. And then their audience claps like seals, like, oh, look, he said he didn't care about the Constitution. Oh, they seal clap. Oh, look, he's so brave. He owned the libs. What are we doing? When Rand Paul's calling you out on this shit, you know you fucked up, okay? Tweeting out about how he's the Department of War is going into Chicago and the Chicagoans better watch out. What are we doing? I am a liberal, and I am a proud liberal, and I'm tired of the attacks on liberalism. I called that shit out when I called that shit out when the leftists were doing it, when they were trying to deplatform people, when they were trying to get rid of the First Amendment, all that. I called that shit out. I fought them. Every day on my show, I fought them. Turns out the Republicans weren't mad that they were trying to get rid of the First Amendment or deplatform people. The Republicans were mad that they weren't the ones that were getting to deplatform people. So you have Trump going around making executive orders against his political enemies to shut down their speech and freedom of association, to target law firms that he doesn't like. He has an enemies list and he's going after them blatantly. John Bolton speaks out against him, sends the FBI in, right? Sends the investigator team in, right? So all these Republicans who are complaining about lawfare, they weren't mad that lawfare was happening. They were mad that they weren't doing the lawfare. That's it. That's all it is. It's power. It's politics of power. We need a return to principled liberal values. We need people to protect liberal values, okay? Institutions, separation of power. This executive order shit, it's gone on for far too long. It needs to stop. We need to reinforce the guardrails. But we got to win first to do that, okay? Coming up, midterms, it's going to be, it's make or break time, baby. Make or break time. I don't know how else to ring the alarm bell here. But we're in the end game, okay? We need to it needs to come from a cultural level too, from the ground up. Way too many people are just okay with illiberal behavior from our leaders. With our leaders just wanting to snap their fingers and go around Congress, go around the checks and balances, and just do something, quote unquote. Too many people are okay with that, and we need unfortunately, we're going to get a reminder, and it's going to hurt, about why those checks and balances and those processes were in place in the first place, why they were important, why we put them in, okay? They didn't just spring out of nowhere. We purposely inserted them into the Constitution, into our legal system, into our judicial, I already said the judicial, into our legislative system, right? We inserted them on purpose, and we did it for a reason, a very good reason, because we saw the excesses of power and how it could run rampant and destroy a country and turn it into an autocracy like that, right? And the problems that this caused, the devaluing of personal individual liberties. I don't know. I don't know, gang. What do you think? Any other thoughts on this? Otherwise, we're probably going to end it today. What we got coming up this week? We got some great shows coming up for you, okay? Today was a call-in show. Not many of you called in. We had a couple callers, okay? But not many. I don't know. Am I scary? Do I smell bad? I don't know. Why did you guys not want to talk to me today? I don't know. I had to rant a lot. Tomorrow, we're going to be the Wick and Tally show. The vibes are off. Okay, we're going to have our friend Tally on the show. And it's a weekly show we do together. And we're going to be talking to the liberal professor who's going to be discussing with us the state of discourse online, the state of debate online, and how it frankly sucks. Okay? So that should be a fun show. Tune in tomorrow, 6 p.m. Eastern for that. It's going to be great. On Wednesday, okay, we're going to have a debate panel on, are leftists ruining media? Are they ruining games? Are they ruining movies and things? And we've gathered a team, okay? We've gathered a great team together to talk about that. And let me give you the guest list right now when I grab that up. So this is on Wednesday. We're going to have Baby Peach and Majin saying no. And then on the yes side, we have Gen Z Lawyer and Curtis. So that should be a fun little debate panel. Tune in 6 p.m. Eastern for that. On Thursday, okay, Thursday at 6 p.m. Eastern, we're going to be having on Aiden Paladin and Single Player Carl, who are going to try and defend the Trump trans gun ban. Okay. They're going to be arguing against leftist Blondie and Corbin Sales on this topic. Should be fun. Tune in. So if you guys want more debate panels, you're getting them today. You're getting them this week. I do want to do a debate panel soon on, Are the Democrats too soft on crime? Because I think it's an interesting topic, an interesting discussion, interesting debate. So, No Cow Mike says, is that the Peach person from last week? From a couple weeks ago, but yes. Baby Peach, that one. The one that everyone was mad at. I think she's great. I think she's fun. Doesn't Tolly have a debate tonight? Yeah, Tolly has a debate on the Raging Tomato. She's teaming up with her enemy Soy Pill to debate two people I don't know. So I guess you can check that out if you like. It's gonna be later tonight. That's Tolly. You can check her out at Tollybots. Let's see who's streaming. Who we going to? You guys want to say hi to Shenandoah? We haven't said hi to Shenandoah in a while. Make sure you let him know that this is... Did I spell his name wrong? Oh, no, I think I did. Hold on. Wrong Shenandoah. No, I'm not getting... Hold on. Maybe we won't raid Shenandoah because I can't spell his name right. Okay. Maybe we won't. He has 5 H's? That's why? Ah! Okay, you need to really call him out on this. That is unacceptable that I had to figure out how to rate him, and I almost rated wrong people like 20 times. Oh, I'm being hyperbolic. But yeah, he's tell him it's a hate raid. I'll see you guys. Yeah, that's true too. Hit like, hit subscribe, come watch me later. It's gonna be fun. I'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.